Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be looking at the last of the Druid skills, which I believe we've covered everything now, unless I forgot something. Feel free to like poke me in the ribs and let me know. But this last ability is kind of one of the really coolest, and it's the Solar Creeper. The Solar Creeper is a really nice one-point wonder for most druids if you want to have basically infinite mana. It essentially allows you to have a pretty huge mana recovery rate, depending on if you have bodies nearby. It also tends to not eat corpses unless there's actually something near, you're actually missing some mana. The amount of mana that it restores is actually pretty significant because it's based off of your maximum mana. So the more mana you have, the more mana it restores per corpse, which is pretty cool. And if you manage to dump some points into it, it actually gets pretty high. At level 1, it starts out at like a measly 2 to 3%, and as you can see at level 16 right now, with only 1 point in it, it's now at 19% mana recovery. And it goes as high as about 40%, I think, if you get it really beefed up, which basically means that for every corpse that it eats, it'll just restore literally half your mana, which is pretty cool. Right now, I'm basically getting about, 1/5 of my mana for every single corpse, and it actually works out really well. Another thing that this ability works out really well for is, well, eating corpses. It tends to work really well for that purpose as well. So when you're in here and you're spamming all your skills and you're, killing lots of monsters, you'll notice that the Vine Creeper will sit there and just chunk up your mana. I mean, as you can see, it only took him 3 corpses and my mana was completely back to full. And again, now my mana is completely back to full, and it's actually really quite nice. The ability for him to restore mana is actually so good that the majority of the time, I don't really ever need anything like a meditation polearm on a mercenary, or ridiculous amounts of mana regeneration, because he's basically just restoring all of my mana back to me within just a few corpses. Another really interesting thing that I utilize him for is the ability to kill corpses, specifically with Neolithak. So when I go to farm Neolithak, and let me go find him real quick, which is really easy. He is right down here. He's right down here on a Chattahoochee. Didn't know what that muddy water meant to me. Y'all get out my way. Ho. And he's this way. Oh! Oh, evil charging snakes. Now, when you fight Neolithak, one of the things that you can do is you can just spam your abilities. And as you spam your abilities, your Solar Creeper will do its job and basically suck up everything nearby. That's what he's good for. So you just want to make sure that you have no mana, and you want to keep blowing pretty much every single mana point that you have, so that he is eating every single corpse within the vicinity. And he's going to keep eating all the corpses, and that's what he does. So it's like a never-ending fuel fest. As long as you're spamming abilities, as long as you don't have any mana, he should be sucking up corpses and refilling that mana for you. And in case of the, evil Neolithak monster, which loves to corpse explode everything, you can sneak your way in here and you can dish out some pretty significant damage to Neolithak, who always loves to teleport away because he's a little douche. But it gives you the ability to clear the field, very similarly to the way that you might with Redemption, or find item, find potion, corpse explosion, or any other ability which is going to allow you to be able to get in there and actually dish out damage to Neolithak without fear of, reprisal. The only real downside is that if you aren't missing mana, he doesn't work. So if you happen to be running a meditation polearm and your mana is always full, then the Solar Creeper's not really going to do a whole lot. And, well, that's kind of redundant. In my experience, it doesn't really seem like the meditation polearm is really that important for the Druid because, well, he doesn't need it. If you run the Solar Creeper, if you just 1-point wonder the Solar Creeper, usually you can manage to keep your mana completely full, pretty much 100% of the time. The only exception is, of course, when you're fighting a monster that has no corpses, like Bale, or Well, sometimes Diablo. Sometimes there's corpses around for the creeper to eat with Diablo. It depends on how many monsters you killed in the center of the star before you started. Duriel, of course, there's nothing. But most areas have some sort of corpses that you can take advantage of, and the solar creeper can eat them and restore pretty much all of your mana very quickly. If you beef him up even further than this, he actually recovers a massive amount of mana per eating of a corpse. The other interesting thing to note here is that if you have more mana, so the larger your mana pool is, the more mana he will restore. Because he's not restoring a flat amount, he's restoring a percentage. And the percentage is based off of your maximum. So if you have 517, like I do, then he's restoring 20% or 19% of 517. But if you have like 1,000, then obviously that's going to be a lot more mana that he's going to restore per effect. So if you're utilizing things like Soges, frost burns, and other items that increase your maximum mana, the solar creeper has an even stronger effect in restoring your mana and makes it so that he can just dish out even more. The other interesting thing about him is he can be used as a distraction fairly well for a lot of monsters. So there are a large number of monsters in the game that love to target the creeper over pretty much everything else, and that means that you can pretty much just spam him next to a target, and these monsters will be absolutely enthralled by the worm. You can do this with Uber Duriel, Diablo, Lilith, and Dariel. A lot of monsters are actually, the AI seems to be programmed specifically to target these monsters first. And it's rather unfortunate because they're very useful, but in a lot of those situations, you can actually take advantage of this horrible AI by spamming that particular monster next to the boss, allowing you to basically just completely enthrall him in the wrong direction. He won't kill your mercenary, he won't kill your friends, he won't kill your bear, he won't kill anything because he's too busy trying to kill the carrion vine that you keep resummoning, which is rather silly. In many Uber runs, recently this season, that's one of the things that I would do. We were fighting, was it Andariel or Duriel, and then we were fighting Lilith, and so we're sitting here fighting Lilith, and it's going really pear-shaped, like really fast. And so I'm just sitting here, I'm just spamming. I just spam it over and over again. I'm like, all right, guys. I'm like, anytime now. I'm running out of mana. Like, anytime now. I got her. She's distracted. I was like, come on, anytime now. She's distracted. Come on. Just anytime. And Lilith is just going one shot, 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 one. And as soon as I stop casting, of course, she immediately beelines for the nearest player. But I'm like, I need mana potions. I was like, if I stop casting, she's gonna murder us. And I'm literally just locking down Lilith with these summons over and over again because, of course, Lilith is programmed to attack them first, and she has no choice. And you can take advantage of this to silly, just absolutely silly proportions. So not only does the Poison Creeper make a very good, or the Solar Creeper make a very good one-point wonder, it also allows you to not have to use Meditation Polearm. You can utilize other items that could be more beneficial to your character. You can utilize it very well for recovering of mana and also to the destruction of bodies, and even distracting bosses, which would otherwise demolish you. A lot of this is just very interesting gameplay because it's utilizing your brain. Like when you go fight Duriel, a lot of people get their butts kicked by Duriel, but they don't realize that Duriel prioritizes minions over players. So if you keep your minion alive, even if it means chugging a couple mana potions, you can usually distract him and kill him quite easily. Necromancers especially have it really easy because they have really powerful clay golems and things like that that will actually survive multiple hits. Whereas, things like the Poison Creeper and the Vine Creeper and the Carrion Vine and whatnot, they don't really quite have the same, survivability, but they will attract his attention just as well. I think that's pretty much it for the Solar Creeper. A very good one-point wonder. Not really worth dumping all of your points into, but if you were a summon druid and you wanted to have an additional mana source or an additional life source, it could be an interesting secondary choice. As always, thanks for watching, and and keep creeping.